All right, we will reconvene with our meeting, and up next we have the Carnival Regional Library.
Okay,
Oh,
just want to send them the Zoom link, that's,
Okay.
I apologize. I have to send Katrina the Zoom. Yes.
Oh, okay, we'll just give her a few minutes to do that.
That's the question.
Sure.
So, we're hearing from, dispatch and the library today. I'm assuming these are kind of budget related questions that we'll address at the next meeting. Is that accurate or?
No, I don't think they would be addressed until our next budget meeting.
No, that's what I said. If that's not what I said, that's what I meant.
Yeah, you said. Well,
The next meeting.
actually, next meeting, when is our next budget meeting? It's September 9th. Yeah, so it wouldn't be our next regular session meeting.
Oh, okay.
We would be addressing it at the next budget.
That's what I-
On September 9th.
That's what
Okay,
I was assuming the 9th was part of our regular.
oh, okay. Well, originally we had scheduled it the same day and then we had to bump it a week, so.
Okay. Okay. We're all on the same page. So.
Does everyone agree with that? That's all? Okay.
Okay, I emailed the treasurer email at gmail.com, the link.
Okay.
So. We do have, I did include the attachments that she sent in the agenda packet.
Are we good to go? Or
She hasn't joined yet.
she's out of town, so. Oh, okay.
Could you maybe send her a text that the link is in her email?
Oh, yeah. You shut your phone. We will call her.
Or call her, please?
So she wanted to be able to be part of the meeting, she must have had something to say, otherwise she could just watch the YouTube live, but
Yeah.
I'm assuming she.
I think if there's questions, she's more into with everything, so.
We're gonna go back to Paul's question,
Sent to the treasurer.
um. When you talked about dispatch with the budget,
Doesn't she send you a link?
to me, there's going to be more to it than, budget for.
I agree. No, I agree.
Okay,
I just, they were both on the agenda.
okay.
Got it, okay.
Oh, here she is.
Okay, they got you. Just fix that.
Okay, thank you.
Do that.
Okay, we'll try this again. Good morning. Could I have you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Gay Liskey. I'm on the board of the Carnegie Regional Library. Our board consists of 6 members, 3 from Grafton, 3 from the county at large, and I live in Mint. The library's been part of my life as long as I can remember. One of my first memories is going there with my mother, checking out books with Mrs. Baird. And I took my kids there all the time too, so I'm a big fan of the library. And if you've never been there, I invite you to come to the library, check out, it's an amazing, beautiful, historic building, well maintained. And you can see some of the services that the library offers, and there's quite a number of things which I know you've seen on your list. I'm here to discuss that, or to talk about the funding briefing, or just talk about it, but this briefing explains why the Carnegie Regional Library reduced its 2026 funding request from Walsh County, and underscores why continued county support remains essential to providing equitable library services to all Walsh County residents. Why the request was reduced. The library board and treasurer recognize current financial pressures faced by the county. The library has reserved funds that can be temporarily used during 2026 to cover part of operational costs. This one-year measure is designed to ease pressure on the county budget without disrupting essential services. The decision reflects a commitment to fiscal responsibility and cooperation with county leadership. By continued funding is critical, the Carnegie Regional Library is a county-wide resource serving rural residents, small towns, schools, and seniors in addition to Grafton. The city of Grafton already makes significant contributions, including providing the library building rent-free. County funding ensures all residents have equal access to books, technology, educational programs, and reliable internet service. Risks of further cuts, reduced hours and fewer staff available to assist patrons, loss of outreach services to rural and underserved communities, fewer programs for children, teens, and seniors, a weakened public institution that has served the county for generations. In summary, the reduced funding request is a proactive gesture of goodwill, not an indication of reduced need. Walsh County's continued investment will ensure the Carnegie Regional Library remains a strong, accessible, and vital resource for all residents. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you, Gabe, appreciate it. Does anyone have any questions? I have a question. You mentioned in there, outreach services are provided to rural communities. Can I just ask what type of outreach services are provided to the rural communities?
I have to admit, I'm new on the board and I've always gone there. I'm not sure about the outreach. I know they'll go to different places, try to make a presence known to promote the library, the Minto Museum, they plan to be there, the Walsh County Fair, they usually are, that sort of thing. Programs, Katrina maybe can address specific programs.
Okay, Katrina, yes, and I'm sorry, Katrina, I should have welcomed you as well. Are you able to hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, thank you. Maybe you can answer this for me, Katrina. I was just asking, outreach services in the, message that Gay just gave us. She said outreach services are provided to rural communities. Can I ask what type of services are provided to the rural communities?
Yeah, one of the services that was in place, it recently had a staffing change, so we aren't able to staff it. We have a mini library located in Adams, that was staffed by a part-time person. So people could go to the it's First United Bank's basement in Adams to go um borrow a book, and then that's one of the major ones we had going, and the person retired from that, and we were working still to get that back up and running. But it's truly out there as an honor system to where people come in, they take a book, put a book back. It's really nice that that's that option. They have a mini library out there. um we try, and then we also had partnerships with other places, but that was before my time at the board. So the rural outreach has been less at the moment, but that was a big part of it, having that mini library out in Adams.
Okay, thank you. Ernie,
I don't know if this is true or what, but somebody brought it up to me. Does Park River patrons pay a $25 annual fee for a library card? I was told they pay an annual fee, and I was just wondering, being counting money's involved, does everybody else pay it or just Park River, or? It
So
concerns me.
yeah, that was because, to my knowledge, this was in place before my time, and I know that the city of Grafton and the Walsh County Commission signed a formal joint agreement, or a joint board agreement. That's what sets up the 3 Walsh County and 3 Grafton members on the board. But Park River, from what I know, don't, quote me in stone, but from what I know, the city of Park River stated they have their own library, so they did not need to contribute. And again, I'm paraphrasing what I've been told by Jill, and this was back when I first started a few years ago. Um, they had their own library, and they were not going to contribute to the joint board effort, as the big, the county seat and the second largest town in Walsh County. I don't know why. that's the honest truth. I don't know why. And it was set up as in the library to where out of county residents would be paying something and then the city of Park River residents were paying something. But again, I'm not entirely sure why, other than that was just how it was for a long time.
Same person told me that the city actually don't have a library anymore. They joined with the high school. And they give an amount to the high school, and that's the best thing that ever happened.
Yeah, yep, that is true. I've heard from a resident in Park River. I said, well, they have a library there, and she's like, yep, now nobody can access it. And um, but I have not a first clue on how to approach, like the city of Park River if they wanted to be a part of the contribution that keeps that county library going.
Amy,
Yeah, because Grafton has a library in their school too, but it's not open to the public. I mean, if you went in maybe during day hours, but schools have become much harder to access to, so I don't think a school library is the answer to. For a city to have. One question I have, that was brought, someone was looking for the library board listing of its members as well as meetings. Is someone keeping that up? Whose responsibility is that? For the library, I don't know if that lies on the county side or with, but someone. It would be good to list all the library members, the board members, their contact information, as well as when the meetings are, when, where, and time, so. That would just be one thing I'd like to see added.
Yeah, nope, all that information is available right at the library. The meetings were very consistent. Um, and then we had some changes in our board members, and then the schedule kind of got a little off. But it was every month, third Monday, third Monday, at the library. And then we posted everything there. Everything's available for anyone to come in and ask for those things. As far as like a website upkeep, we've got a website, but we do, at this moment, we don't upload things to it. We do have intentions, but everything is being kept at the library as far as records go. If somebody wanted the last minutes from last year, year before, anything like that, we do have that information. And every secretary, person, they, we digitize all of our things. We've been sending them to the auditors of the city and the county. I don't know if there's been a lapse in the last year of any of that happening, but that is the intent or what was happening, to let both places know what was going on. And then essentially we do have a list of all of our members and contact information. It's just not technically posted anywhere. All of us board members have that piece of paper. Um,
Katrina, could you just tell us who the board members are, because I guess I don't even know. I'm looking
yes,
through the information that you sent to us and I don't see it on here, so can you tell us
no,
who the board members are?
yeah. So myself, I am one of the Walsh County members. Gay Risky is the other Walsh County member, and oh, is it Tina Anderson, right, Gay?
Yes, yes.
Yep, she's the third Walsh County resident, Tina Anderson. Um, she works in town, I believe, at Bremer Bank. And then the three city members, Lark Oyhus and Susan Sloop and
Heather.
Heather McMillan, who works at the school, the Grafton School, which is why most of our members couldn't be here today because they all could not get out of the meetings at their jobs.
So I did a little bit of looking online and maybe it's on, but I looked and there is a Carnegie Regional Library page, Grafton, North Dakota Library. So I mean, I just think for a. It's on the county website. But I think who do you Google search? You search Carnegie Regional Library, that's what I searched, so I feel like you have about us, you have pictures, would it be hard just to put member names, email or You know, I mean, for the sake of transparency, if people are trying to reach out, positive or negative.
Yeah.
Is it wrong to put it there just so they have a way to get a hold of them and not have to be searching so hard?
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. The I believe it's just the director who runs that site and keeps it up to date. She does post things there and um but yes, I don't argue with you that can definitely be done.
That's, is that right?
Yes, that to all of them.
Okay, does anyone have any other questions for Katrina or for Gabe?
I-
Oh, Ernie.
I'm looking under your partnership with programs and your annual report information. Of those 44,993 visitors, do you know how many are probably from Grafton and the rest local? Say surrounding towns?
No, I don't believe we have that. That is probably available for a breakdown, but I honestly don't know. That is what was sent to us from the state.
Katrina was, or, Jill, I'm sorry, was trying to get it from the software people if they could break it down. I don't know if she had a success with that yet, but she was trying to find that out.
Be interesting to see if they can get that number.
Yeah, we were talking about it, so.
Okay, any other questions? Anything else you would like to address?
I said what I need to say, and I hope that you agree and can keep the funding coming. I think the library is a very important part of the community.
Thank you,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Katrina, anything else from you or are we good?
Yeah, I don't have anything much to add other than it's the library is intentionally regional. It was the first of its kind. It wasn't built to just really keep track of who's from where. I'm not seeing the relevance exactly in knowing the pinpoint numbers of who comes in from where when anybody could come in from anywhere, regardless if they're helping funding the library or not. It's a public service that I believe that still needs to be continued to be funded, um, because it's the only one of its kind in our area. If you get rid of that, or even attempt to, lower or lessen any part of it, I believe it's just sending the wrong signal in the way that what the library could be in 50 years and what the library could be for generations to come, it depends on this support. It depends on, the willingness of everyone to just be like, well, it doesn't matter. We just need to keep it open, flat out. But that's what I have to add.
That made me think of a question. Do you have people that come from other counties to use to use the library?
I know we do have Pembina County residents that do come down. Um,
Okay, do they pay a fee then to use the library?
yes, they do.
Because it was my understanding from your director that they choose to waive the fee so that people can use the library.
It it it's a case by case basis to the far as I'm aware, because if somebody doesn't mind donating $25 to the library essentially to use the library for, the year, and it's $25, I believe. Um, and some people I would imagine cannot afford that. So they do judgment calls.
Kenny,
I believe it's been a number of years since there's been any service at all up in Adams. But I do recall that, having it down in the bank, but when that gentleman retired, it was done. I'd
No,
say 6 years.
nope. The Sue Ellen Okason, I believe was her name. She was there for, gosh, she was there when I joined the library board. That was a few years ago now, but she was there once a week for the past, I don't know, 5, 6 years, something like that, I believe. I'd have to ask Jill specifically. But no, she was there. It still is technically open.
But that's currently, that's the only thing you would have for rural services.
Yeah, we as board members, there's been a lot of changes in the last 3 years, when it comes to funding, when it comes to budgeting, when it comes to future plans. And, we finally got a strategic plan in place, and we do have all of these things. I guess I should have sent you our strategic plan too. I do apologize. Um, that our intentions are, we're still pretty much laying the gravel in the base of the foundation before we cement in the future here. Us as a board, as working adults, trying to do our best to support our public institutions here. We're doing our best, and we absolutely have. I'm always thinking like, I need to make this better for 50 years, 100 years. This place needs to be something, and then having annexes, and dreaming big dreams when it comes to the library. So that is something that we are thinking about. It's not, we're not sitting complacent going, everything's just perfect the way it is.
Okay, Amy?
So if you can send us a strategic plan, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, yep, that's a very good idea. It's like half the time I'm going, well, I can inundate you with a few pieces of paper and I'm not sure what is the most beneficial some days. So yes, I can definitely get you that sent to you.
Okay, Paul.
I just, wanted to ask the commission to support the full request of the library board. To me, this is about a society. As a government jurisdiction, we do things as a society. I could care less personally if there's noxious weeds in the county right away, but I know that that affects people adversely. So I'm willing to pay for that, although it doesn't do a thing for me personally. I could say the same thing about the sheriff's office. I could say the same thing about the school. I have no kids in school, yet I pay a healthy sum every year to support the schools, and I do it gladly because that's what we do as a society. We support these things that need support. This budget was cut. This request to the county was cut by 20%. If everybody who took money from the county did that, we wouldn't be having this conversation. That's an unusual thing. I think they did their best. I would like to see us fully fund the request.
To use as a thing, I went on and looked a little bit, and there's a lot of grants from the state. You get a lot of grants or apply for grants for available monies through the state or whatever you can for libraries.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
we do. Yes, we do get state aid, pretty much around the amount of like $12,000 a year. That was a little wonky there as well for a year or two where it was, are we gonna get the state aid? There was some change in rules and then we, bounced back and were able to get state aid, and then, yes, we do apply for grants,
Okay, Paul.
There's a lot of talk about charging people fees for the use of the library, and I have to admit that gives me a little concern. This is the first I've heard of that, but I'd like to know, what kind of fees are you collect? Are we talking about a couple $100 here, or, what are we talking about? I'd like to also go back to that joint board agreement and try and understand why that ever got implemented, and does that still make sense today? I don't know. I mean, sitting here today, it really doesn't make sense to me, but maybe it does in that agreement. Maybe at the time that agreement was put together, that seemed like a reasonable. But I'm not sure that's a reasonable thing to do moving forward. I was not aware of that, if that's happening. And I'm curious, how much last year did we collect in these fees? Although I'm not opposed to, people outside the county, paying a fee, but
It said on the, I don't know if I went to the library or I looked up libraries. And where I found it was a $25 annual fee to Park River in Penman County. Is where I found that.
Yes, it's a $25 fee to get a library card. It's a flat $25. And it is quite often waived, to my knowledge. The other fees that we collect that actually help fund our, addition to the budget is we do charge for copying services, printing services, notary services. No, I think that's free. Notary services is free. Never mind. Um, if somebody's like obviously book fees like your late charges, there are some people that we have to send to collections to get to where they didn't pay the fee that they were supposed to, or they kept the book. And we send them memos and all this notes going, hey, we need that book back or we're going to charge you. It does happen, and we do get, I would say, it's just right around $300 a year in those fees. It's not a lot, but it's the little things that we get from these. Interlibrary loan is a fee because we have to pay to be a member of that. So it's minimal fees that we do charge, but we have to do something unless our funding is outstanding and never in question that we could offer everything for free.
You know, in my mind, I'm not on the library board, but if in my mind, if we wanna charge a fee, let's charge a fee. If we don't wanna charge a fee, let's not charge. We're talking about $300, cause that's, that's not even worth wasting much of our time. But if we wanna have a fee for a library card, then charge it to everybody or charge it to nobody.
Right.
That's my,
Agreed.
that's
That's why
my,
I brought it up.
yeah.
I-
And now, if you wanna say out of county, people would pay this fee and county people wouldn't, or everybody pays it, I'm open to either one, but. I don't,
I don't like
especially when
to,
you're talking about $300, that's.
I don't like when we charge some and not others.
to pick and choose. I don't.
Yeah, and I'd like to know what the criteria is for that. Is it just a judgment call?
I think-
I think you look like you don't need to pay the $25 fee, but you do. I mean, that's difficult. So, okay, I think we need to wrap this up. We need to move on with our agenda, but thank you very much, Katrina. Thank you very much, Gabe. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll take this into consideration.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, don't hesitate to actually send an itemized email, of what you want from us, because we can, we'll supply you with anything. We just don't want to keep tossing papers at you like, here, maybe this will be good, or you know what I mean? Just itemized list if there's anything you want that you did not say today. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you.
Thank you. Okay, Crystal. Sorry, we're running a little behind, but good morning.
Is it warm? Or is it-
All right.
Alright,
Crystal has a dispatch update for us this morning.
Yeah, so Amy had wanted me to get you guys some new numbers, so I emailed that out to you. Just review them a little bit and see if you have any questions or anything in regards to it, so. The way I went over it was just, I started with our 2026 budget, what have we budgeted for that out of the three budgets that go towards dispatch. We got all of the health benefits like retirement, everything that the county pays out from auditor's office. To total all that up for each individual person as well as our current vacant spot. I did have to kind of estimate a little bit for their retirement, because their retirement, what's gonna be paid is dependent on the salary and what they're getting take home, so I just used, our lowest paid dispatcher at this point in time, we plug that in there, so we have some numbers. So the current budget for 6 full-time people, like our current 2026 budget with employee benefits and then less the 12 fees that we could be getting back. Total budget would be about $587,695, and that's with our 6 full-time, current, but then the rest of the ranges can vary dependent upon if people go from single to family, and that's including the 7th dispatcher spot. So with all that information, I wanna say our total, the range of our total dispatch cost range would be anywhere between 87,696 to around 617,481. State radio costs for what, I found for that.
Can you hang
Yeah.
on, Crystal, I have a question on this.
Go ahead.
So you've got dispatch costs, 7 dash vacant family is 617.
Yes,
Does that just include the benefits or does that include the salary for that seventh dispatcher?
so the total budget itself for 2026, that includes the budget. That includes it for, actually, I didn't take that out for the 6 full-time for the first one, so that would be a little less. Because our total budget for next year includes that 7th dispatcher. So, yes, that would be a little less. For like, if we're looking, so that first line where we have was like total, what was totally budgeted for 2026. That includes our 7th person. So, yeah, so that would be a little bit
So tell
different.
me the number that includes your 7th person, the dollar amount,
So the 7th person for just our budget or for in total with the benefits?
in total with the benefits.
That would be the 605,965.
Okay,
So that would be the one, because that's the number that I plugged in for the minutes, that's starting if that next person took a single. So then the 7 people with the vacant spot independent would be that 609. The next one with the vacant family, that would be that 617.
okay.
So then the one that would be a little bit less. Would be that first one where it's just the 6 people, because I didn't remove for the total that was budgeted for 2026, I didn't remove that salary line.
Okay,
So.
But we would have that position in the 26th budget.
Yeah, if you refill it, yeah. So,
okay, sorry. Go
nope,
ahead.
nope, that's okay. So, then on another sheet, there was, some state radio costs that we talked about, so. Based on their $1.50 down a line with their estimated line value, it would be 218,389. What I provided with you guys previously for just continued department budget costs, if we had, gotten rid of dispatch, would be around 76,000 a year. I reduced it by that 186,550 of what we get back for our toll fees. And then again, we had talked about, we would need 2 admins to take care of admin lines throughout the time, so we're not bombarding the sheriff's office. So 2 basic salaries for them at that, as well as the different costs for single, dependent, and family benefits. So the cost for state radio would be 237,683 to 260,715.
And what's in the continued department budget cost of 76,000, what's that?
So I sent that to you previously in another email when we did some breakdowns, but that, so that in those line items, that's the director's costs. That's the admin costs for the salaries. We pay for things like Everbridge, Marco, our, for our copy machine and such. Our CAD for our servers for that and our training, like our production servers. Different membership costs for 911, we pay for I Am Responding each year, so it's like all the different things that we
Okay.
would
A lot of
normally.
miscellaneous.
The miscellaneous that we're still gonna be, that's regardless if we have dispatch or not, would be a part of the budget.
Sure, so I'm wondering what's in the state radio annual, the 218 then, because my conversations with Darren was not that amount. I feel like the continued department budget costs in that 218, there's duplication there.
There isn't. So what his fees are $1.59 per line, and you average out your 911 lines, which is around that 11,400 some is what he gave you. The numbers he's giving you is, well, yep, if you take that 218 and you subtract what you're getting back from toll fees, this is what it's actually costing you. So if you subtract the 186 from 218, yeah, it's costing you around maybe $30,000 to go there, because this is the income you're receiving. So I did include that in there, but that would be what our total fee is on top of our continued fees that we're still gonna have to pay out of our normal budget, as well as the admins and their benefits. So that's kind of the differential when we break it all down like that. My budget that we have for 2026 does include the new, siren fees and the new Vesta fees and everything that's already been included in that budget, which was kind of a going back and forth when we were talking to Darren about, well, your circuit costs are gonna go up and this is gonna go up and this is everything you have to include in it. So that was like, well, what are those costs? How are we doing it? So when we were doing budgets, found out all that information, that is included in that 2026 budget so that it's covered.
So
So,
where are, excuse me, but where are those numbers? Are they just showing up under, like on the first? Dispatch with benefits? Or the circuits and CERN?
that would be under different, like, if we go through our actual budget and line items, so like our teletype maintenance, you know, we had to budget this amount for it because that's gonna cover what we would normally pay to ITD for our circuit costs. So I wanna say Darren had provided some of that email to you guys as well with like this. I can go back and pull some of that information and resend it out to you.
Well, I went through your email, you know, you had
Mhm.
kind of done that, and I
Yeah.
went through your email. Circuits, ITD,
Mhm.
Motorola, recorder.
Yep.
Those are things that you identified.
Yep.
And my total was, about $89,000 of things that you had identified that would go away. Are those numbers in here?
That would go, yeah, so I only, the stuff that is the continued costs are the only things that we would continue paying for. So,
Right, but on the first page, you're identifying saving.
so what is it, like the differences is what I.
No, the one where you have the dispatchers listed and that.
Okay,
So what I'm asking is the 89,000 part of those numbers?
yes, everything that we would have to pay for, that would still have to pay for when it comes to any of our circuits and everything is included in that because it was included in my budget numbers.
Okay,
So, yeah, so that was included, because I had to factor that all in when we're budgeting for 2026. So I'm like, we gotta be able to pay for it, so what are those numbers, so. Mhm. But in just, essentially what it would look like for a total savings range, you know, from. Our dispatch center versus going to state radio would be between that $350,000 to $356,000. And then I was able to get, a quote that I provided with you, because one thing that we talked about in regards to if we did not continue on with our dispatch center is that we maintain all the panic alarms, so all your buttons that you have that you press goes into our dispatch center and it sounds in that panel for us to alert, and that is a program that I believe we don't pay annually for, it's that we pay to get installed, the only thing that we do is if any changes or maintenance or something, then we would pay for it, so we would need something that whatever you hit would then go to a third party that would then alert state radio, and so what would that cost be? So unsure of how many buttons we would need, or if we would want 4 buildings versus 3, so I just asked them to give me a standard quote for 3 buildings, one for about 30 buttons in the event that we wanted, you know, more in places, because these would all be wireless. As well as 2, like 10 in other buildings, because I mean, say for the nurse's office, they have 1 button, you know, you might want 1 in each office in comparison, so. Just to up that, which we could always change that, this is just a general, but this would be about. They said about 22,932 to install, and then each system for each building would be charged for almost $420 annually, which would include the monitoring service. So,
so this is 2 options, option A with 30 buttons and option B with 10 buttons, is that?
no, that's all one same option because we have 3 buildings with panic alarms. So we have panic alarms in the courthouse, in the auditor's office, and in the law
How
enforcement
many
center.
panic alarms do we have now?
Remember?
There's about 25.
Okay,
Yeah, so when asking about it, I know that there's many more places we could actually have panic alarms, and this price could go down based on how many you want to include, because they're about 139 per button. So I just said, I'm like, well, let's just do that many, because I know a lot of places don't, you know, like I don't have one in my office, and there's in the nurse's office, there's only 1. I don't believe you guys have any in your back area, not that you necessarily need any, but to me, I might have one at some point, or, you know, just to be able to cover our bases. So just to generalize, this is an idea.
So upfront fee of about 22,000, is that?
22 to 20, no, it was 23,
23,000 upfront fee, and then an annual fee of,
around 1,200, something along that line. So, cause that was, I know one of the questions was, you know, if we were to lose dispatch, that, what are we gonna do with panic alarms? Because who's gonna monitor that and how do we go about with the courthouse safety? So at least we have that little bit of an idea.
Okay, Jason.
Right now, our panic alarms are hardware,
Yes.
so there could be an issue with that. Actually getting enough wireless coverage to keep everything going. So just wanna get that out there. There might be an additional cost for the Wi-Fi portion of it for updates in different buildings.
Yep, and then
So this panic alarm couldn't still go to our admin person though? I mean, if we left
If
the
you have
system as
someone-
is.
if you have someone in there, the difference with dispatch is someone is required to be in there 24/7. Whereas we just have an admin answering phones, they can call in sick and it's no one's answering phones.
Right.
You know, so you wanna be able to make sure that someone is going to answer that call if they get the button pushed, you know, so. This is a system that would, it just depends on if this is the right system, if we need to look at other places. I just called Electro Washburn because that's who we use our current system from.
Okay. All right, Amy?
I mean, whether or not this is the right answer for Walsh, I think Pemina went to sheriff's office when it came to alerts.
Mhm.
A place that is there 24/7 in terms of monitoring those or doing sirens or doing things that they can keep things moving. It, is the recorder, one other question, the recorder for continued service, keeping local dispatch within your budget?
So that, it's within my 2026 budget, but that is not listed in there as a continued cost. Because right now, we don't pay for the recorder, we already have it owned. If we, and we need a new recorder if we are going to, when we go to siren. So if we were to keep our own dispatch center, we are going to need to purchase our own recorder that will be supportive of the siren radio system, which I have not gotten a quote from that yet. They're looking at trying to have better fees and stuff along those lines for us. If we go to state radio, they're gonna be in charge of it. However, we will still need to get a new recorder to record our admin lines for the sheriff's office. So the recorder we have right now is, it works and it's eligible and we can probably use it for a couple more years, but they don't make it anymore. And so trying to service it or getting new parts is going to be difficult. But then that goes back to if we do not have our dispatch center anymore, then that technically shouldn't come out of 911 budgets or any of my budgets in the sense to maintain an admin line phone for a different department, and that should probably come out of Ron's budget or a general fund or something else. But if we're continuing to maintain and record the 911 and the radio traffic that comes through us rather than state radio doing it, then that would come out of our budget, so.
So in essence, it's a moot point because we're gonna have to pay.
We're gonna have to pay for it, it's just
That's
gonna
not
be,
a cost.
it's gonna be the price really,
The
so.
price and who has to pay.
Yes.
So, okay, all right, great.
Bottom line, I look at it and yeah, there's a cost saving, but I said, bottom line, my concern is. I went on it in 911 or whatever dispatch, there's 26 counties that are on it and 27 aren't, and there's only one bias. So I got a concern there, why isn't everybody else joining? And I also have a concern with our local firemen, ambulance and them. Before I make a decision, I'd like to have their feelings and input.
Mhm.
And
And
I get the money savings, but
Yeah.
I'm talking safety and there's, why isn't more than 26 counties joining this? That. So I guess moving forward.
I completely agree, and I would love to be able to set up some sort of meeting to be able to come and have, you know, our first responders and to be able to have an open discussion about it and get their thoughts and feelings on it, because from everyone that I've spoken with, there's not a lot of support with going, and they, what can we do to help keep it, you know, what do you need from me, Crystal? And I'm like, write a letter of support, call your commissioners. As far as I know, we don't have any meetings set up to talk about it, but if we do, I'll let you know, so.
Then,
I've contacted numerous quick responders or first responders or emergency responders. I've only had one that was supportive of going to state radio. All the others are absolute no. Parker River Ambulance, Parker River Fire Department, Fort William, Tees, Adams, Lincoln. They all wanna keep dispatch. They don't feel the cost savings is worth the risk.
Maybe we should have a meeting with some of them, and that's my concern too. I get saving money, but Them people gotta work with, and if they don't feel comfortable, I don't know if I wanna make a decision that way.
And Madam Chair, then I think we should have people who are dealing with state radio there as well. Because the people you're talking to have no idea what it's like to work with. I mean, their change is something that most people are not comfortable with, but it's unfair to say they are not open to it because they've never even experienced it. I mean, we have to make a decision as a commission, so that when we talk to Darren about, oh, well, do you wanna meet with all these people? And he's like, no, that's not a decision that, I mean, who's gonna come at him and say, hey, we're open to this. As the portfolio holder, I have to look at all sides of this. It is not something I want us to be having a problem with. Crystal and I have had good conversations about turnover and but if we don't have people, I mean, Pembina County at one point had 17-year-olds doing their dispatch. Is that what you want? I mean, I don't expect Crystal would allow that. I mean, I feel much better about that, but we also have continued costs. If we're moving forward with keeping local dispatch, we need to move forward with interviews and having a department head. We need to decide if we're keeping Crystal and admin or changing. We need to talk about the city of Grafton. There are multiple things here, more than just a decision one way or the other. And I'm kind of tired of us just sitting on this. Like, we have to decide and move forward one way or the other. The updates and the cost of continuing to have a local dispatch department are gonna be there if we maintain it. For me, I don't care which way we go, we just have to decide.
I'd just like to say, I don't feel we have been just sitting on it. I think we've been waiting for numbers because we were, there was a dispute or a discrepancy between what state radio said we were gonna save and what your numbers said we were gonna save. I guess I wasn't willing to move forward until we had some solid numbers on that. I agree. I would also like to hear from our first responders as well. I actually thought we had a meeting set up to do that until we found out that Darren said that's not his. That's not what he does. He does not come in and meet with the local people. So if he's open to it, great. I think that's great, so.
He's not looking to get our business though, like,
Yeah.
they're here to provide a service, if we decide we wanna go with them, then they meet with them to start discussing how they can work together and how they can help. But putting a one-sided view of people that have never even been exposed to it, I mean, put both sides in the room then and have Pembina County. I mean, that's where I would be open to a discussion, so you have both
I think
sides.
it would be great to hear from Pembina County and have them talk to us about what they've seen as pros and cons. Tenny.
Madam Chair, my initial contact with all of these emergency responders was to watch Darren's presentation. And I didn't have all the answers, they had a lot of questions, and I said, watch the presentation and go from there and make your decision, and that's what they said after they watched. Granted, it's not the same as having an open meeting, but like I said, none of them were in favor of it.
Paul.
And change is hard, I agree, I get it.
I've said this before, but I've talked to people who worked under both local dispatch offices and state radio, and they're, what I would say it would be neutral. They don't have real strong feelings one way or the other. But I don't doubt what you're saying, but I also agree that, we need to make sure that these people have all the information, I question the two admin positions. I'm not sure there isn't a better way to do that. I don't know exactly what those two admin, knowing what I know today, let's put it that way. I'm open to having a conversation about that, but that waters down the savings significantly, I guess. And in my calculations, I was leaving the director, the admin position. I can't remember now if I had a vacant position. I think I had reduced 6 dispatchers. We have 7 positions in the budget, so I kept one position there, the director and the admin, so it's not like there's nobody left in my analysis of it. So I think 2 admin over and above that is overkill, based on what I know today.
So that was at the suggestion of Darren and Amy when we had talked about that type of stuff, that because you would need someone for a certain part of the day and then need another one for another certain part of the day to be able to flag all the calls, because admin calls that come into the sheriff's office are upwards of 20,000 a year. So you start adding that onto Savannah's duties, you know, you add that on to, you know, the admin in my office's duties. Or you don't have that one person, or that one person's gone, so then who's gonna be flagging all those calls? So that's why it was 2 to try to offset, because we're not gonna have that 24 covered, so, you know, that
Are we
coverage.
talking 2 full-time or 2 part-time?
It was 2 full-time, you know, so that you'd have one, what were the timeframes you had suggested, like one from like 7 to
Or
4
one
something?
from 4 to 11 or
Yeah.
something, or.
Yeah, just kind of like to be able to cover that main, you know, time when we get a lot of those admin calls. You know, obviously, like what Darren had suggested with that, if that were to go to that place, you know, they would be giving additional duties to be able to help with this, you know, other things as well. But then, you know, in that aspect, then that's where, you know, if you're having those admins to, you know, say we go to state radio and you have those admins, or even just one admin who's responsible for them, you know, because if they're flagging sheriff's office calls, are they considered a sheriff's office admin? Are they under my department? Because the reason dispatch handles that is because it's dispatch, but they're not dispatch anymore, because then that isn't technically, you know, is that technically 911 funds that we can pay for? Or is that still gonna be county general? Who's then responsible for those people? So there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of pieces that we can't, you know, we can get into every little detail of every little thing, but it all boils down to which route are we going first? Are we keeping them, or are we going to state radio? And then after that, then we made that decision, then we look at all the details that we have to go along. We have to look at those details now because we have to have an idea of what we need to deal with once that decision's made. But
It was my understanding that we would need a part-time 911 coordinator, not a full-time director. Am I misunderstanding that?
so
I think we have a full-time director.
So you have, so the titles are like 911 director and or coordinator, as well as PSAP director. So PSAP director is the portion that would be left. So we still need to have a 911 coordinator to be able to handle all the 911 addressing for the cities and the county and everything, as well as like, I don't know, you know, just the upkeep and education and such.
So it's part-time or full-time?
It depends on what you wanna.
Darren recommended part-time.
Yeah, a lot of times people do part-time. I mean, this position, EM and 911, each of them is part-time, so.
Okay. Ron,
Just to refresh your recollection of that meeting with Darren Henderson, when Morton County, which is Mandan, minus the city, went to state radio, they took 4 of their dispatchers and made them admin people to take those admin calls. I think it's realistic to have 2 of those people to do those admin calls. It's gonna put a huge burden on Savannah and the sheriff's office and jail if that's where that responsibility goes. And there are a lot of admin calls that come in, and yeah, I think it's not an unrealistic number.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot that still needs to be maintained, and if you try to take all of one part of one department and put it on another department, you're gonna.
so are we saying from the hours of 11 PM to 7 AM, you get minimal admin calls? Who takes those in?
Right now, dispatch does.
Yeah,
Dispatch.
dispatch takes all of them.
So
Every
we have to
time
figure out where those calls would get
Right.
shifted as well.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, well, I'm sorry, Paul
Oh,
had the
sorry.
next question.
Well, I had a question on the electoral watchman bid, you know, my understanding of these panic buttons is they're for employees
Mhm.
who are here from 8 to 5, so this is not something that needs to be manned 24/7.
It still does, because if I was just on vacation last week for a couple days, and if that panic alarm is going into my office and nobody's manning it, who's being told about it? You know, so you have to make
And I
sure
would
that,
assume the judge.
yeah,
Now-
somebody, you know, if somebody is not in their office, when that's where that it's gonna be located, yeah, great if an admin is there that's able to say, hey, this pops up, we need to let somebody know. But if nobody's in that office, and it's a holiday, or, you know, some, like, not necessarily a holiday, but like, someone is, you know, it's the day after Thanksgiving and we're open, but we have minimal staff. So half the people are gone, whoever's responsible for that, someone has to be able to man it 24/7.
I don't know, maybe I don't understand the reason, I'm a little confused,
Ron,
I agree with you, Paul. The alarms are for our employees. But just to remember that, some of our employees are here after 5 o'clock. The judge was routinely here till sometimes midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. The auditor's office, had been here late into the night too. If something were to happen and no one's, answering those alarms, I think we're gonna have a problem, and that's why, I think if it's an 8 to 5, everybody leaves at 5 o'clock, I agree with you, that could be handled with an admin person, but, not always, do we have an 8 to 5 courthouse. There's a lot of people that are here after 5 o'clock and before 7 o'clock in the morning.
Do you have staff in the building 24/7, or is your staff not?
In the jail, I have people 24/7, yes.
Not in your office?
No, all my deputies are out on the road, so yes, they're not in the office. 8 to 4:30.
I mean, I've had a conversation with Tanya about the amount of inappropriate calls she gets when people call and they get to her office. There's a part of, I'm not saying inappropriate, but like not to her, they should be coming to Tanya.
Oh.
She has to redirect them. Sorry.
Wait, what?
I don't, is that, well, it's still the right word, just, yeah.
Different context.
So I have a little bit of a question on the admin calls and, you know, I'd love to see an audit, a little bit of what is coming in. Is it appropriate? I'm, you know, and I've said this before, but 11 PM to 7 AM, in my opinion, there should be a call tree. There should be a place that if you need to, if you're calling in, if it's an emergency, you call 911. If you wanna talk to Ron and you're calling in at 2 AM, you should press the button and leave him a message to get back to you the next day. So there's parts of me that feel like we could do better on the calls that are coming in that are admin, that could cut down on some of that, so that they're becoming more efficiently to get into the person they're trying to call. I mean, if we have what, we have one number for the courthouse?
I think a call tree would be beneficial for, say, call this number and then hit this number and you can go to whatever department you want. But when it comes to the sheriff's office, I don't think it's gonna be beneficial. Because if you try to call Grafton PD right now and you have to hit different numbers to get through, it is the biggest annoyance for most people. Because then you're waiting for someone to go and pick up, or you have to leave a message or whatever. And a lot of times for the admin calls that come into the sheriff's office line that we answer in dispatch, it's not, you know, during the day, a lot of times it's people wanting to say, talk to Ron, or it's a telemarketer, or it's someone, we don't get a ton of calls of people saying, hey, I wanna pay my property taxes. Yeah, we get our fair share, but not a ton. I get more of those on my phone in my office than anything else. But the admin calls that we get, you know, that come in through, you know, our office isn't necessarily always like, oh, well, I need to talk to Ron about this. It's, I have this issue where I wanna report that there was a vandalism out at my thing, or I'm having an issue with my neighbor, what do I do about that? And so those are the calls that need to be flagged, and do we need to send to a deputy right away? Is this now a call that we handle and we create a call for service for it? Is this something that if, you know, that if it's an admin and then we no longer have dispatch, that we have to send to state radio for it? You know, it's not necessarily I'm looking for the auditor's office, or I need to speak to someone who's there from 8 to 5. It's, you know, all that, we get a lot of emergency calls from people saying, oh, I just had an accident. I just hit this pole with my vehicle, and they didn't call 911, they called the admin line because that's the number they know. So to be able to pull those to figure out, we're not gonna be able to just run a report because all those calls come in differently. But you know, we'd have to say, oh, from this period to this period, and try to look how many transfer calls did we do, and then you'd have to go and look at those call for service, each one individually, to determine what it was about to be able to get those stats. Paul?
I guess if I'm sitting at home and I wanna talk to Ron about any particular subject, I'm not gonna call Ron at 8 o'clock at night and expect to talk to somebody. That doesn't even make any sense. I'm gonna wait till 8 o'clock the next morning and I'll call Ron in the morning. To expect or to man an admin phone because somebody wants to talk a non-emergency at 8 o'clock, and you said 11, I would say what's magical about it? Why would we be paying somebody who wants to talk to Ron or Ed or whoever? If you're calling at 8 o'clock at night and you're expecting to talk to somebody, that doesn't even make any sense to me. If it's a non-emergency, and if it is an emergency, you dial 911. So
Not
I
everyone
reject
does.
that completely.
That's not what everyone does, and that's, I mean, it's.
Well, they will when there's
It's-
nobody there to answer the phone.
Yeah.
I think we're getting a little off
Yeah,
topic
I mean,
here. I mean, we're zoning
we're
in just
deep
on
diving.
admin, and I think we need to look at the bigger picture. Right
Yeah.
now, what we need to look at is. We're looking at cost savings, we're looking at safety, we're looking at next step, right? And next step, from what I'm hearing from everyone, is that we would like to set a meeting with. With the fire departments, EMTs, ambulance, is that correct? Is that what you guys are hearing? Is that the next step you wanna take?
I think so.
Okay, do we want to contact Aaron and ask him? I'm
Well,
not sure if he's gonna come, but I mean, we
Give him a
can certainly
chance.
ask.
Give him a chance.
I mean, he might zoom in or something to answer questions,
To answer
but
questions, yeah.
I can reach out to, like some of the Pembina County. Like fire EMS, because we have contacts there too, and see if any of them are be willing to come and talk about their experiences.
And I think Pembina County Commissioner.
Yeah.
Any of them that are willing to come, I'd like, obviously Ron to be there, I'd like to get a recommendation. From our employees who are impacted by this, I'd like to know, like, obviously I know what dispatch's answer is gonna be correct, I mean, that's a no-brainer. But like Ron and his deputies who actually work with you guys a lot, I'd like to know their thoughts as well then. And I know we've heard a little bit, but maybe not a final recommendation.
You want any infant, if they're willing from a couple counties, that why they are not going to it?
Absolutely.
I'm just curious, there's gotta be some reasons or whatever, and that I don't know. I'm not against it, I'm not for it.
I
I just-
can, yeah. It's not there. I believe there's actually a county that's leaving state radio at this point in time to have their own center again, so.
Yeah, let's get as much
Input.
input as we can, because this is a big decision.
Time to move on it.
Yeah, right, and I think we're at that point now, we have the numbers. I guess I'm pretty comfortable with the numbers that have been provided, so they're not, nothing's gonna be exact, right? But we're getting in a ballpark.
Is this something we should be asking PD to come to? Cause I know you've been in talks with them about. It affects them if we go to state radio, and if we keep our center, they're willing to come back, correct? So,
Will we be taking them back?
Yeah.
That's essentially what we're be.
and so then I would assume.
Yeah, we can reach out and invite them, and they can choose to attend or not.
Okay.
So do we wanna kind of set aside a date? I don't wanna, so we can keep moving on this?
Wanna do it at a regular meeting or just a special meeting?
I think a special meeting,
Yeah, it'd be hard.
We'd have to be like in the farmer's room or something for the amount of people,
and I think in the evening,
Yeah,
so, I mean.
and it's harvest right now, so this is not a good time.
Well, why don't I look at and try to reach out and try to get a couple of options for dates that people might think they would send out a poll, say like, what about these dates at this time, and see if people can, see how many people would be willing to show up and go from there,
I mean, I'm thinking,
couple weeks,
mm,
2 weeks,
I mean, it's heat of harvest.
yeah.
Wheat's wrapping up, but it's not gonna be long, pinto beans are gonna be going, and it's gonna be soybeans and sweet corn.
Third rainy day in September.
I mean, do we wanna wait till like
got a lot of control.
mid-October? Or, I mean, I know that could still be heat of corn harvest, but do you guys think mid-October? I don't wanna put people in a situation where we schedule a meeting, and they go, oh yeah, they scheduled a meeting because they knew we couldn't attend.
Yep.
You know, that's what I don't want to do.
Or have them contact the commissioner.
Yeah, middle August or middle October should be most of the harvest, and you'll have corn and beets probably left.
Okay, yeah,
Let's shoot for that, is that okay with everybody? That reasonable? Okay, we'll shoot for middle of October, you give us some dates and,
okay. And do,
just so it doesn't hit our convention. Is somewhere in there, you'll watch for that date, right, the
What
county
is the
convention?
The end of October, 26th through the 28th.
That's the 26th.
That's been the DACO conference in Bismarck.
Yeah, and I think I have a conference between and so mid should be safe. I don't know, when's the Walsh County Fair?
I was just thinking.
Because that's always in October.
23rd, 24th, 25th, wouldn't it be?
Usually down there, yeah.
It's always my husband's birthday, I feel like.
So maybe like,
I think it may be the more like 16, 17.
The week before.
yeah, that's what,
18, 19.
I think if the fair is that week, then we should shoot for the next week, that's October 22nd, it's right in there. Area, what do you guys think?
See what you get back on those
Yeah.
surrounding states, I guess.
okay. Can do.
Okay, thank you very much for appreciate it, Crystal. Okay, does anybody need a break?
Yes.
Okay. Break number 2. Okay, we'll reconvene our meeting with Jason. Good morning, and I'm sorry, I've forgotten yours.
Gavin Benson.
Okay, welcome.
Energy Systems Group, so,
Okay.
first we'll just do a quick one for I have two agenda items. First is just drainage permits. I have two this time. One is from McCann Farms, that's just a drain tile going into the County Road 9. There's no issues with it where it's going in there. The other one is McCann Farms. It's also in conjunction with Paul Thompson Farms. They're doing a new approach on the section line, that'll work through both of their fields. They're working together on it. It's just common mechanical the application. Steady the existing call that they have. I have no issues with either one of the projects and recommend them for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Can I any discussion? Hearing none, I'll take roll. Ernie?
Yep.
Danny?
Yep.
Amy?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Myself, yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Now that the other item I have for you is we brought Doug Strauss in a couple of months ago. And we talked about looking at energy savings and different things. Doug got me in touch with Gavin Benson with the Energy Systems Group. We walked through the buildings with Doug and went through a couple of things. At this point in time, Doug kind of feels like they're there for us if we move forward for something that needs their automated technologies. But at this point, he thinks it's more in Gavin's field, so just bring a presentation with Gavin to kind of talk about some updates and situations we can look at for the heating and cooling for all the buildings. We'll kind of go from there. Already Gavin.
Okay, sounds good. So today I thought that we could go through, I can share a little bit about our company and how we do projects, how we partner. I can talk about some of the funding mechanisms that are out there that you may or may not be aware of, and talk about budget relief and how that might work. I shouldn't take too long. I tend to speak pretty quickly because I get excited and I might have to stand up to burn out some energy. But if you have any questions, just tell me to stop and slow down or back up, do that. So Energy Systems Group is a program manager. We work with municipalities, state and local government, K-12, even some federal. And what we're doing for them is doing energy projects across the US. We've done about $4.5 billion worth of work. And what we're doing is helping people figure out where they're at today with their facilities and their assets. You may have plans that may be new or old. We can use our team to fill the gaps. So you truly know for all your buildings, all the different assets from the roof all the way down to the blacktop. What's the age of the equipment? What are the priorities? What needs to be done over the next 10 years? And we work with you to prioritize and sort that. So you know what's being done over the next 10 years in each building. And we can help you figure out how to fund some of those projects and you can implement that if it makes sense. A lot of what we're doing is turnkey projects. So we're using the Guaranteed Energy Savings Statute in North Dakota. I'll get to that in a minute. But we're using that to fund a lot of these projects in a way that you don't have to raise rates or taxes. We're using existing funding and funds to get those projects done in a pretty interesting way. And we've kind of put them all under one roof, one source of accountability. Because when we're doing these projects, we have to do a lot of guarantees for costs and for savings. So we're able to deliver everything as a single source of accountability and responsibility. So from concept all the way to the end of the project, we're able to kind of manage the entire process and results. Now, long-term planning. So we walked around with Jason and kind of just got, it was an hour or two. So we got a really high level look. Conceptually, I think there's some areas that we can explore further. There's a lot of words on this, but really what we're trying to look at are areas of efficiency. So in your buildings, there's a lot of it's been converted to LED, which is really efficient. Some haven't. So I think those areas that'll pay for themselves. On your heating and cooling systems, this is the picture of the boiler downstairs in the courthouse. There's only one, so there's no backup, and it's at its end of useful life or pretty darn close, maybe even a little bit past. And this kind of darker picture here is like some of the old fuel storage tanks. So I think there's some opportunities there to look at, do we replace as is? Do we replace with a backup? Do we do a more fuel efficient source or do we do something different? So we kind of look at it as good, better, best approaches eventually. Your ventilation system. So right now this building is served by a nice air handler way up in the ceiling. It looks pretty darn original. So it's got its useful life out of it. It does work. But there's more efficient systems that we could look at. And then this is just kind of a catch-all, just taking pictures of a little bit of everything. I'd say our role is to get all the different systems on the campus to be in a database, so we can actually figure out how we can sort those. And we do that a couple of different ways. So we use technology and our team doing the assessments, walking around, running everything through its paces. We're gathering all this information. 10 years ago, we would have put it in Excel, given it to you in a report, and it would have been static. Now we can put it in technology and it's very dynamic. You want to know what you're doing for roofs over the next 10 years? There's a button you can click, it'll tell you which building, what year, how much it's gonna cost, and where those cost estimates came from. So it's a nice way to communicate, and then every year you can update it as you want, and it's a little bit easier to do that. So this is just some snapshots with some examples. We don't have to use this, we can still use Excel if you want, but a lot of folks are seeing the benefit of taking all this and using it as a communication tool. So when folks say, you know, why do we have 10 or 20 or $30 million worth of work over the next 10 years? This is why, and this is where it's being done, and this is how we prioritize things. So, financing or financial. So if you have a plan, you know, you need to do for the next 10 years, and you prioritize it, how do we pay for it? There's lots of different ways. I'm gonna focus on the guaranteed savings statute because that's kind of the budget neutral. You don't need to raise taxes for that. So it's North Dakota Entry Code 480509 through 13. It's a fairly well-used statute. I've been using it for many, many decades now. Really what it says is you have an existing energy and operational spend on an annual basis. We maybe look at a couple year average. So you spend, let's say $200,000 a year. After we do projects, there's gonna be a much lower baseline. You're not gonna have to spend as much. We're gonna use the savings to repay the project over time. So we're not raising any of the current budget, we're just capturing that. Instead of paying the utility company, we can use that to pay off the debt service. So really, I think you can offload as much as we possibly can off of the budgets and that's how right budget relief essentially. Procurement wise, I know it kind of cruises through this, but let me go back. So Sourcewell is a co-op purchasing organization. We've gone through a very rigorous competitive process in RFP, where they did this and anybody that uses Sourcewell can use guaranteed energy savings projects now. And because Walsh has signed up for it, you can buy equipment and you can also buy services. So that's been really nice for a lot of folks to talk with because now they have a way to really get this going. We can typically shave off 6 to 12 months off the normal kind of design bid build process. And then this is kind of summing it up. After this, I just have like a timeline of how things typically go. But really, it's easy procurement, budget relief. We're very collaborative, and we can be the single source of accountability. And with the guaranteed saving projects, there's no risk. We have to guarantee the price, we have to guarantee the savings. So in the last 20 years, I've never had anybody not meet their savings. But if you were the first, then we'd have to write you a check for the difference. So you're always going to have that amount annually to pay off for the debt service. If you were the first, then we would have to pay a check and we'd want to come in and on our own dime, fix something, do something to get extra savings. It hasn't happened yet tonight, and intend to keep it that way. So timeline. I really kind of went through that quick, but we did a bit of a feasibility case analysis. I think there's quite a bit of opportunity. The next step is, do you want us to look at doing an assessment of all the buildings, figuring out what the next 10 years looks like for capital and investment, and start developing solutions with you? If you do, then I'll send Jason a project development agreement. What it says is we're going to front the money for the next couple of months to do all these assessments. And if you don't do the projects, then, please pay us for our work because you'll have this beautiful report and information. Now, if you do a project, then it's just part of the project, lighting and rooftop units and boilers and the assessment. And 99% of the time people do a project, so it just gets wrapped in and we don't invoice you until the project's actually fully funded, so it works out really well.
It's really convenient from my aspect when we're working with this, when we just have the conversations with the radon, where we may have to do something at the admin building with that, if we can't get these captures to get our numbers down. We know if the rooftop units on the Chase building had issues, we were able to put a Band-Aid patch to it, so we could buy parts to it. So we're not pushing the carbon monoxide into the building, so we didn't have to replace those units this year. how long are we gonna be able to get parts for those units? We don't know. The rooftop unit down in the law enforcement center is the same type of thing, the unit in that they're hammering here in the courthouse, same different thing. To me, this is a logical way to go, so we can come up with a plan, so we can try and minimize our costs. For the investments we're gonna have to put back into our building and schedule them and use their expertise. That they can say, you're gonna get this much time out of this piece of equipment compared to just waiting until they fail. If we can get some pre-planning, we can get into the budgets, maybe go through their projects and get taken care of without having to have the extra issues. So. That's mine.
Amy,
I mean, I love the proactive approach, you know, when we talk about capital improvements or whatever, it's always nice, it'd be nice to have a list, you know, of like, these are prioritizations going forward with budgets. My one question is jail project coming, you know, in terms of, obviously, we wouldn't wanna duplicate, I know that because it's flipping, the boiler, like, that's gonna change, but any I mean, that would just be part of what you would look at for priority, if it overlapped, you just would not obviously be.
That's a possibility. The other possibility is that we look at being, we have the money for the HVAC system for here and now. There's a possibility that maybe we move forward with what we have. I mean, maybe we get it moved up a year, maybe that you took then wouldn't cost as much for doing the renovations to the courthouse at that time. And make sure that we have enough capabilities that when the jail addition is ready, it's just got a connection point, where we connect into the system that's already here and we move forward. So there is a flexibility portion to that.
so I'm just gonna ask, did I hear this right? This would cost us nothing?
Correct.
As long as we move through.
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
right.
So we do that on purpose. We wanna earn the work and we are confident, we've done this for a few decades now. Yes, because the project, the savings is gonna fund the project and
Right,
those be this big list, right? Over the next 10 years, and you're gonna say, this is what we wanna do with the energy project, the rest, we're just gonna do this on an annual basis. There might be some spikes because naturally as it happens, and through the process, we'll shift things forward and backwards so that you don't have nothing, $10 million, $2 million, $2 million, $20 million will shift around so that it's more even and it's easier to manage from a budget perspective.
So you're gonna lay that plan out.
We'll work, yes, we'll have all the data and expertise and we'll sit here with you and say, okay, this is where we think it needs to be. Any input, anybody agree, disagree, we can shift things around.
Prioritization. and-
Yes, prioritization. Yep, and it's not just on age. Sometimes you might want to replace something like you were talking about, the dispatch and the buttons. It might be safety, it might be security, you might be doing it for other reasons. And you might say, I know it's not that old, but because of technology, we want to do something different. So you can add different criteria other than age when you're prioritizing.
so I assume through this process and you're working with, there must be grants or something out there, or how did this, because I just can't figure out how it costs us nothing, so.
Yes, there's grants out there, there's sunsetting thanks to the new bill that came out, whatever you wanna call it, the new federal bill. So a lot of money is gonna be drying up in the next 6 to 9 months, so I think could be a really good time to try to scoop up whatever we can.
Well, I like that, I like this.
So that's why we talked about it, Paul and I and Jason, we met with them and we said, we gotta bring this forward, I said, you know. As much trouble as we got with our buildings and all our heating and you name it. It's just, we can't predict what's gonna happen, and I said, if we can make a plan on it, yeah, maybe you won't pick this one and this one's gonna go. But at least we're trying to even things out and, yeah.
And I feel like Jason's comes a lot of negative news to us in meetings, so that's helping us. It gives him some support. I'm all in favor.
My first answer when he calls me on the phone is no.
Yeah, yeah.
I said when I saw the presentation, it said budget relief, I liked it right away.
But so, okay, and I guess I never asked you that day when we were doing it, so when you do this project development agreement. Let's say we don't go with it, what are you looking at for expense to the county that you did all this work for us? We'd still have to plan,
Yes,
but we wouldn't have it, roughly, I'm not gonna hold you to numbers,
it's
but
typically 10 to 15 cents a square foot. So
okay,
that's not.
that's not too bad.
150,000 square feet, that's like $15,000.
Yeah.
Maybe $20,000.
Okay.
But like you said, your goal is that you make it so that we.
Yep,
There'll be projects that'll make sense, and then we'll just use this video.
he was a little more detailed that day, and when your question came up about the jail.
Yeah.
That's what we talked about it too, with the savings we might get out of that HVAC if we did it, and then still compatible to the jails that's built.
Yeah. Yeah, we can make things where there's a connection points. And in the drawings, it just says that the boiler system's provided by others. When they bid out the rest of the project, it'll just have the connection point, the size, and make sure it's big enough. And they can just connect to it and be plug and play.
Well, sounds good. Okay, any other questions?
So what do we,
Motion, I would say.
well, I was gonna say, do we make a motion and move forward with it, look at it?
You stated it. Our next step would be.
Oh, yes, I will get Jason a draft, but typically you'll empower somebody to negotiate and to get the project developed and signed. Typically happens at a time.
So do we want a motion to allow negotiation for a contract?
To move forward,
And then the contract comes back here once it's.
Yeah, toward the end, yeah, we do all the work and scoping and you figure out what you wanna do, and then right before construction, that's when we say, like. We good, break fee or not. Should we go fund this, should we do it? Yeah,
Okay,
I'll make a motion, we move forward, I think it's a good deal for the county.
yeah, motion to have a second.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll take roll. In
Yes.
Amy, yes. Ernie,
Yeah.
Paul,
Yes.
myself, yes. Motion carried. Thank you very much.
excellent.
Thank you for bringing us some good news,
Have a
Jason.
great day and a happy holidays.
Yeah.
I want you to go out and buy us a piggy bank so we can put all our savings in there.
Well, I was intrigued by the savings that they were talking about, 'cause you can use like operational statements, so stat, you can use that too. So we can just, we'll talk about it later.
Okay, great.
Impressive.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Have a
it.
great day.
Jason, I have a question for you, because
Yes.
you've been through everything now, right?
Yeah.
Flex funds, what are we hearing there? I thought by now we were fine.
We're starting applying. Bridges have gone, the bridges, they gave us applications, or they gave us a list and said rank them. So the DOT basically said, here's all your bridges, here's where you have, these are where we see are your worst ones, which of these do you want to do? So those had to be in yesterday, so we gave them, they wanted us to only give them 5, we gave them 9, so now they'll get to pick. We also gave them 9 for removal and told them that if they wanted to bundle more, we might be able to find more for removals. And just, we had 10 closed bridges right now, so we overloaded them with things. The rest of the grants, I've been talking to a few township officers, giving them recommendations, trying to get them to work with the neighboring townships so they can fit inside. Those all have to be done here in this next month. And with those, we'll be going for that. So we're working still with the design phase that we've gone through with KLJ, so we get the letters of support and those things going here really soon. For the 12B portion to put in. We'll also have one for County 4 to look at for doing a stabilization project, narrowing up the road, trying to do a test site to see if we can do something there to keep the as heavy traffic as that is. Keep it from boiling up in the middle of the year and blowing up in the harvest when there's not really a water problem, or like the spring issues. That'll be a part of it, and then a number 9 for an overlay that we couldn't do, try and do that. Right now, the building overlays, pavings are not something that they are looking into do. It's not one of their high on their to-do list from the DOT funding line. What they would like to see is, which miles do you have that you wanna remove from asphalt and put into gravel? That will rank higher. So, but all that stuff's coming up, a lot of conversations on those points, townships can put in for bridges as well. for reminders.
Our Symphonia Gate,
As far as 12B, have you gathered support letters?
No, I'm going to be calling to the elevator in the school in Park River and Fordville and.
And the
And
ambulances.
the ambulances and all that.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I was told support letters go a long way.
Yeah, they help.
County Road 6 bridge, is that the one where they,
Still coming.
okay, so the signs are down, but nothing's happened then?
No, they took the signs down because they were being fined for not starting the project with the fines up, so they lost $4,000 on that. As of right now, they have fines of another $13,000. Cause they were supposed to be finished with the project on the 9th, and we're 10 days after that. Every day that they're not finished is another $1,300 a day that they have to pay. Which basically comes out of the DOT payment from at the end. Way it looks, the last time they gave us an update, they're not gonna start until maybe next week. And then it'll take them about a month to get everything wrapped up. I envision them having about a $50,000 fee for fines for non-compliance with the project. Last week they called and asked, when we remove this bridge, what do we do with the parts? And I'm like, yeah, that's your problem, you bid it, that's not a me question, that's a you question. And I just let KLJ handle that, because they're supposed to be calling KLJ with those questions as part of our contracts too, so. And not a good case for the first time we were dealt with.
I was gonna catch you afterwards, but I might miss you, so I'm gonna bring it up now. 2019, that bridge that was replaced, not bridge, excuse me, the culvert. Culvert, when you come over the hill and you come down, it's really, really rough, and I know people are saying with the semi, that would be good.
Yeah,
So are you
the
gonna,
blade will be back out there again, we've already bladed it once since the project won't be asked to go grab some more gravel. Everyone went back over this morning, taking a look at it.
oh, okay, yeah, it's pretty bad right now, but.
I see the cranes are supplemental.
Yeah. Graves, supplemental, there just did another abutment pour on there, so that one's coming along well, that should finish right on time. Swanson Bridge, they've been driving pilings, so the abutments on those, the north and south abutments be going for that, and that one's coming along well too, so. The projects that we have had this year, that have started except for one contractor, have been going really well. So
Good.
I'll actually finish 2 different bridges in the county this year.
Good. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I'll give Dan a call and say we'll be a little late.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's no problem. I told him we'll just shoot for time.
Do you guys know Tanya? I saw Tanya pop back in. Was she coming back up for the
She
insurance?
is coming back up, yes.
For which one?
The health insurance snaps. Are you letting her know, Ron?
I am, yes.
Okay, let's give her a minute.
Is that gonna be long, do you think?
Well, I don't know, how many questions do you have?
None. It's insurance, you don't have any questions, you should pay it.
I won't be able to go to that, Ernie.
To what?
It's too short notice for that
Oh.
bridge, I have patience, sorry.
Thank, I figured you were coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, perfect.
Down, everyone.
Okay, so we'll just go on now to Christina. She has an update for us on our North Dakota Fit renewal, our health insurance.
All right, so we got our NB Fit medical insurance renewal in the last month. Our rates went up 7%, which we 7.6%, which we accounted for, 7.26% we accounted for in our budget planning. And so they did present us with other options that we reviewed at insurance committee last Tuesday afternoon. In which I put a little summary of the insurance committee meeting. As we were reviewing options, we were looking at the overall coverage, $500 deductible. In comparison to the $250 deductible, I did ask Kiana, who we were working with through NBFIT, if they had a $250 deductible 90/20 plan. Or $500 deductible 90/20 plan, and they did not. Have that plan for us to have as an option, and so. Towards the end of the insurance committee meeting, we had talked about recommending moving to option 2. With the $250 deductible and 80/20 copays. And all of the out-of-pocket maximum, even the 2026 renewal as is, goes up to $10,600. Which in Kiana's reply back to me from NDFIT, she clarified that with us, and I did ask her if that meant that our as is renewal would go down, but she said no, that was accounted for.
And that's an IRS thing, from what I understand, right, that's, that changed because of IRS regulations.
Mhm.
This is gonna cost our employees. Right?
Well. It depends on how much they go to the doctor, but
Right,
yeah,
but-
yeah,
Cause there's costs, no matter how you look at it, right, it's just, it's. I mean, it's 7 point whatever percent, and so everybody's share would go up by 7 point whatever percent, whatever employees are paying, whatever the county's paying. You know, looking at the other options that we were looking at, that option 2, we save in premiums, but then something that the committee pointed out is that it does add copays. So if you are a user of the plan, you know, if you're needing to go to the doctor more frequently, the savings that you might have seen might disappear quickly because you now have to pay copays. So it's just kind of lose, I guess. But that was, we were looking at the upfront premium costs when the committee was talking about it, thinking that there is some savings then if you look at the option 2, in that respect, but of course, the other side of that coin is that there won't be savings if you're needing to use it monthly. I think there's interest down the road to look at the explore further, like the options 3 and 4 are the considered high deductible plans. It's just that there's not enough savings. With these rates, there's not enough savings, because we would want to pair that with an HSA, you know, a health savings account. And it doesn't provide enough savings for us to even really do that, it just isn't a viable option for us with these numbers. So I think we may try to explore that further in the future, but it isn't, right now through every bit, it just doesn't seem like it's even worth exploring, you know, it's not what I'm trying. So.
The one thing I guess that surprised me a little bit was, you know, as is, if we look at that 2026 renewal as is. It's a $250 deductible, it's our 90/10 option, right, it's the plan we have right now, it's our caviar plan. Any other option we go to copays, we do not have a copay currently under this plan as is, so that's going to be new to the employees, you know, this copay. Copay is not uncommon, an 80/20 plan and copays are, to me, that's a very, very common plan. But just so you guys are aware that we do give that up, you know, employees will have a copay by going to any of the other options, or by going to option 1 or 2. But if we go with option 2, which was the recommendation of the insurance committee, it would cost the county an extra approximately $18,000 versus if we leave it as is, an extra $67,000. So there is a savings to the county there. There is a savings to a small savings to the family plans or the employee plus spouse plans. Of course, there's no savings to a single policy because we pay that 100%.
I'm sure, Tanya, is the idea of finding an HSA policy then that we may not be able to stay with ND Fit, is that kind of the thought?
Well, looking at these numbers, yeah, that is kind of the thought, because now 2 years in a row, we've requested premium rates from them for high deductible plans that we would then pair with an HSA. The savings just aren't there, like we all expected those premiums to come in lower, and they're not. And so if we were to explore that further, it's likely we would have to look outside of it.
I'm just curious, who's on the insurance committee? Are these names that are here, are those people all members of the committee?
Yeah,
Okay.
Jason.
I know it, we say it's gonna save the employees and chief. But just for instance, this last week, Thursday, I took my son to an appointment, so his copay would have been $25 for that. Then he also had an injury from football, so I had to go to a separate doctor for that. Right there with those 2 copays, the savings is gone. There is nothing for savings in that plan, because we're still gonna pay more for the plan, it's just not gonna be as much as the as is that we have right now. So to me, if you use it twice a month, I don't see it having savings for the employees. It's my personal feeling.
No, I agree with you. I mean, that's just black and white, right? I mean, that's definitely.
Because, and then, cause you're gonna have, you get the percentage split, so it's 10%, you'll have that. You'll have your copay, and then you have the actual fee from the insurance, from when it goes up, so. And to me. There's not a win for anybody in it, but in all honesty, in my opinion, the only real savings on one of the other will be the county. If you're using the health,
Mhm.
if you're not using the health plan. Then you're gonna see some savings
On the family side.
on the family side.
I think from a perspective of, if we do end up going to a higher deductible with an HSA. I know some organizations then will match or provide assistance with HSA cards, which can become basically a savings account for. But that's a change too, because if you go to a high deductible, you pay more. I mean, even if you have a 5,000 versus $2,500, you're paying all of that, the bill until you get to.
Upfront.
Exactly, like you get the bills until you hit that, and even in my clinic, I know Marvin employees, they're surprised because they get the bill until they hit that deductible. So there really isn't a way, I think the HSA, I mean, from a perspective of a health provider, I'm a big fan of supporting less. If our employees who are not needing the services as often or not needing to go are being rewarded in a sense, I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, that's promoting health, now wellness, all those appointments are included in these plans, so it's still promoting. And with a fairly low deductible plan, if you really have significant injury or something comes up, it kicks in pretty quickly.
And we just didn't have time to, this comes out so fast and furious. It comes, they tell you what it's gonna be increased, and then it's like, boom, by this date, you have to let us know. And our magic date is August 29th, I believe. That we have to already let them know what health insurance plan we're selecting. I would have loved to have had more time to do more work on the budget. But, before we had to make this decision, but unfortunately, we have to make this decision today. On which plan we're going to go with.
So is it unanimous of the committee to go with two?
We didn't take a vote,
Oh, okay.
but. I would say majority were in favor of option 2, I wouldn't say it was 100%. Would you guys agree? Those of you, well, we were all on committee, you guys agree with that
Yeah,
statement?
more than 100%.
Yeah.
It's, it's not a win, not a win-win, it's a lose-lose no matter you look at it, right? So it's like, where are we feeling most comfortable with the costs? And the risks with the usage, right? It depends on whether you're a high user or not. And so, this, of course, in general is such a, we've had this discussion. It's annually almost, right? I mean, this is one of those costs as an employer that is becoming increasingly, all the time, increasingly difficult because
Yes.
we struggle to keep up with it, we struggle to control it, we struggle to know how much of that responsibility do we put on the employees, like you were saying, Amy, because there is some truth, let's just be honest, in, when you have to pay for it out of pocket, you might take your own health a little bit more seriously too. I mean, that's not always a bad thing, but we also recognize from an employer standpoint that this is a benefit and it helps us a lot with recruitment and retention, and so we want to keep that a quality benefit. And so one of the things last year, the committee met with that Albert, Al has assisted us many times with benefits things. And he was kind of telling me, I don't remember if he was telling the whole committee about this, but some employers are starting to look at this piece of their benefit package a little bit differently because of the uncontrollable costs. And so some employers are, hiring somebody like him who's sort of an independent third party person to help us assess the big picture of benefits. Not that he's affiliated with one company or another, and just say, here's how you can make your dollars go furthest, and maybe you say, we're gonna give you $1,500. And you choose what you want to do with that $1,500 plan. Maybe somebody wants a high deductible plan, maybe somebody else doesn't, so you can really start to think outside the box, but that's also scary because that's a big change. And so, but he was saying that's maybe a way moving down in the future that some employers are looking at that in order to help control their upfront costs, because it is difficult.
And I personally really like that, because if people come on and they do not need insurance here, and that. What more of a recruitment tool is that? If you don't need insurance from here, this is a stipend you get that you can use how you want, instead of, here's our health insurance plan. Sorry, I mean, I'm a provider, I don't take my family to the doctor very often, I have a high deductible plan because of that. Now, if there's people that are different, I mean, it gives choice, it gives options, so they could put that towards whatever policy that works best for them, but it is truly giving. It's not pigeonholing someone into, and again, this feels like what he would be for us was what our last presentation, but it would just be looking. Cause I would love to see what is used the most, like where do our employees really need? Or are we just picking, based off of the numbers, and it's not utilized as efficiently, that doesn't make sense to me as efficient.
And I think, should have said, like, not to muddy the water even further by saying that right now, when we have, what, 10 days to make a decision. But I just think that that's a good idea for us to keep an open mind about it, because I do think there are ways moving forward, we might be able to better utilize the dollars that we do have, so.
Dennis,
So how's this gonna look if we cut this benefit and then we add $150,000 administrator? What are the employees gonna think?
I don't see how one is related to the other. The budget is a projection of all of our priorities. And if that's our priority, that's our priority. That's not affecting this directly any more than any other line item.
I guess I don't see it that way. I think the employees are gonna look at this and say, this is kind of kicking ass.
Well, we could say that the employee increase in salaries affected this too.
Right, but we have to keep up.
I look at it differently than you.
I appreciate the difference.
Yeah.
That's my view.
And I will say again that I think the county administrator position will bring efficiency. And one of the things I always hear is, I don't want somebody looking over my shoulder. If the county administrator is spending his or her time looking over somebody's shoulder, they're not doing their job. Because that's not the role of an administrator.
I think the employees would be very slighted if we added a position and cut their benefits.
Then don't cut the blame.
Where do we get all this money from?
Well, we'll figure that out, but this is the recommendation of the committee you're on.
It absolutely is, because I know that we're over budget and we have to make some serious cuts.
Yeah, I agree.
So this is
totally
one
agree.
of them, this
We
is
have
one
to
of
cut
them that,
$400,000.
pardon?
We have to cut $400,000.
Right, so adding in $175,000 position is pretty difficult when we're looking at making tough choices like this to cut benefits. When we're over $400,000,
Then don't cut it. We'll find it somewhere else.
or then we don't add an administrative position, that's an option too.
We won't know until we see all the numbers.
That was thrown into the budget last minute, so it wasn't even voted on if we wanted to add.
We need a motion on this, or? See?
We do, yeah, I believe we do.
We need to get back to ND Fit on what our choice is for our January renewal. And I think, there's a year that staff can provide feedback, like any decision you guys make isn't a forever decision usually, so. If we hear a lot of feedback in the next year that staff are paying too much for insurance, we can always go back up to the 90-10 with the 2027 renewal.
I personally would like to see whether it's the insurance committee or portions, some way, continue, not that we just meet 2 months before or whatever it is. I feel like this needs to be a continual conversation so that we are not up against the wall on making decisions like this, that the opportunities can be presented, that we can look through things. So Tanya, I don't know if that falls on you or the committee or what, but that would be my preference, that we are able to really broaden this and look at. And I know he comes at a cost, but I think we need to seriously consider Al as an expert that can guide us, because I think we'd save money by really truly knowing what's best for Walsh County if he's able to dive in deeper.
And just so you guys know, you have to give Andy Fit, how is it, a year plus?
1 year.
1 year notice, so you really don't know. When you give them notice, you don't know what the rates are gonna be through these other companies at the time, so it's very risky. But I think we need to look into it, I agree 100%, I think Alberg would be great to work with, and we need to look into that. Now, we don't have his services in our budget, so for this year. But we could put them in for next year, I guess.
The 1 year thing is hard, like
Very
it feels kind of like a trap, but. That's how they're set up with their, it's a trust, of course, and so that's how they, you know, have longevity, is that they know a year in advance who's part of that trust, so. That does muddy the waters a little bit and complicate things for us, because that was one thing we looked at last year. Was whether we should be pulling out of a trust, and that's when we found out that we have to be getting them a 1 year notice.
Okay. So I guess the recommendation of the committee was to go with option 2, so I would be looking to see if we have a motion to move forward with option 2 on the health insurance. For a $250 deductible, 80/20 and co-pays.
I'll make a motion, approve.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll take roll. Amy, yes. Paul,
Yes.
Jenny,
No.
Ernie,
Yes.
myself, yes, motion carried. Never an easy decision. Okay, last was public comment period. I don't believe it had anyone, so. Luckily, they did not have to say their name. But we would have called them forward if they had something for specific departments. Okay, anything else for the commission? All right, we're going to move on then to Park River to
the bridge.
dedicate the bridge. All right. If nothing else, meeting adjourned.